A very good morning to all of you. Welcome back to today's video analysis session for the newspapers. So we'll be taking up all the important topics from the Sunday's edition for 25th of June 2023. So here we start with our analysis. So talking about the situation in Manipur, so the Union Home Minister says that president's rule is not an option in Manipur. And obviously that is the last resort if the situation it does not get under control, or it is not, we are not seeing any kind of improvements and progress. So Union Home Minister, he told an all-party delegation that imposition of the president's rule in Manipur was not an option. The situation was soon returning to normal. Several members who attended the meeting, they have told the newspaper. So Mr. Shah said around 1,800 looted weapons had been returned and 36,000 Central Forces personnel, they've been deployed in the state. So here, the role of central government becomes important whenever we see any kind of internal disturbance in any state. And you need to know about it in like specificity in terms of the specific constitutional article which talks about it. Apart from that, you need to know about details about all the different types of emergencies which can be imposed, because here president's rule is mentioned. So that's why even that becomes important. And moving further here, the Wegener, it pulls back hours after threat to march to Moscow. So the situation could have been basically detrimental for even India, because since our reliance on Russia has increased for the import of crude oil, and if there is any instability in Russia, that would have costed India. But right now, the update is that the Wagner Group, it has decided that it is decided for a pullback. So that is the update. So the rebel Wagner mercenary force, it threatened to march on Moscow on Saturday before announcing a stunning pullback, as Kyiv seized on the chaos to launch new assaults against the Russian positions in Ukraine. So you need to find out about what actually is Wagner Group, about its history, about its presence and participation, its role in other countries and other conflicts. Then other topic that we'll be taking up would be the mushroom in the midday meal leaves an impact. So going with this topic, we'll be taking it up further. Then a missing letter means no work. So here, talking about the MG Narega. So mismatch between the names on the MG Narega's job cards and Aadhaar, it leaves many workers jobless. So here, because of the discrepancy or insufficient data on Aadhaar card, the obviously the workers or the people who seek to work under MG Narega, they're not able to work. And deletion the names from the beneficiary list is also on the rise we are seeing. So this is one type of challenge that is emerging. Apart from that, we saw that with the launch of an app to record the attendance, even there it was found that it was not so successful and impactful. Then in terms of wages, their wages, the delayed payments, that is another issue which is involved in this scheme. So Tamil Nadu Idol Wing steps up efforts to retrieve 16 idols from the US. So in this picture, you can see some of the idols that were stolen from Nariswara temple in Kalachuri district. Are the pictures. So when we will basically when the state gets back those idols, then for us, what is important would be the era to which they belong. Say, here it is mentioned that according to the police, 6 exquisite Chola era bronzes, Shiv, Parvati, Nataraj, Sundarar, and Parravai Nachiyar, Vindra, and Nadikeshwarar, that went missing from the Veeracholapuram Sivan temple in 1960s. They were spotted at the Cleveland Museum and Christie's auction house in the US. So basically, when we talk about the art and architecture of the Chola era, that in whole that becomes important. And yes, no doubt, Natraj is very important. So there's going to be the infrastructure working group meeting in Devbhoomi, Uttarakhand, in Rishikesh. Apart from that, so Madras High Court it rules that homemakers are entitled to equal share in properties purchased by their spouses. So it delivered the verdict while disposing of a 2016 appeal that was filed by an individual against his estranged wife. So homemakers they perform multi-dexterous tasks round the clock without any holiday, and they are expected to have managerial skills, culinary penchant, and a knowledge of accounts and economics as well. So a woman taking care of a home also performs the role of a doctor by providing the basic medical assistance to family members. Therefore, her contribution cannot be discounted as valueless. So the property may have been purchased either in the name of the husband or wife. Nevertheless, it must be considered to have been purchased with money saved by their joint efforts. So basically, husband and wife, they are treated as two wheels of a family cart. Then the contribution made by the husband by earning or wife by looking after the family would be for the welfare of the family. So both of them, they are entitled equally to whatever they earned by their joint efforts. So Prime Minister reaches Cairo in Egypt to meet with the President El-Sisi and the Grand Mufti. So the visit acquires significance as it is taking place just days after the Prime Minister's wrote to his G20 counterparts to expand the grouping by including the African Union, of which Egypt is a leading member. So two sides are expected to firm up their ties. And yesterday we took up this topic about the India-Egypt relationship in detail. So that is an important topic. So new ART regulations push up the cost of the treatment, limit the conception opportunities. So here, Health Ministry had notified the Assisted Reproductive Technology Regulations 2023, which are aimed at providing donors and patients with a better medical care and security earlier this year. So, but the new provisions have pushed up the already sky-high medical cost, and they're providing to be a challenge for treating doctors and the couples wanting to have children through ART because of the restricted and the limited resource availability in terms of donors, according to the industry insiders. So the new provisions, they impose restrictions on the number of times a donor, male or female, they can donate in their lifetime, and it specifies the age limits for the donors as well. So you need to know exactly about all these provisions, the new amendments, and the provision states that an oocyte donor should be a person who have been married at least once in their lives and have at least one living child of her own, and with a minimum 3 years of age. So she can donate oocyte only once in her lifetime and not more than 7 oocytes they can be retrieved. So also an ART bank, it cannot supply gamete of a single donor to more than one commissioning couple. Additionally, parties which are seeking ART services, they will be required to provide insurance coverage in the favor of the oocyte donor. And a clinic is basically prohibited from offering to provide a child of predetermined sex. So these are some of the new provisions. So India must, it much like the rest of the world, is facing a dip in the fertility rates, and further limiting available donors is likely to bring in more challenges, according to experts. So from the perspective of demographics, this topic is important. And as I told you that you need to find out about all the important and new amendments that have been introduced. So co-preserve feasts on mushroom for health and wealth both. So child and the maternal nutrition in the Western Assam district gets a boost after many farmers they started cultivating mushrooms, and the state government included them in the midday meal schemes as well. So the nutrient-loaded mushrooms introduced in the midday meal in the Western Assam's Kokrajhar district as soups, biscuits, fortified noodles, or they've been mixed with the regular food, they appear to have had a positive nutritional effect. And mushrooms, they were one of the major ingredients introduced for the children and the mothers. And apart from that, looking for the type of mushroom that has been grown if we get the specific name, because then such type of questions they're asked in the examination. So maternal mortality rate has also decreased in the district by 72% to stand at 89 per lakh live births, less than half of Assam's average of 205. So similarly, there have been reduction in the infant mortality rate as well in the state. And the results riding on the team of definitely the role of ASHA work is very important. And the field workers of departments such as education, health, and horticulture did not come overnight. Definitely, it takes some time. And the seeds of the transformation, they were sown by the Bodoland University's Department of Biotechnology in 2012. So its experiments on making 23 species of mushrooms like oyster, shiitake, and cordyceps economically viable and affordable made many farmers start the cultivation in their backyards, sometimes even under the beds as well. So like even from the perspective of nutritional security and from the perspective of wealth, like they offer them, they are economically viable to cultivate. So they bring good amount of income to the farmers as well. Coming to the world page here, let's see what are the updates. One we have seen about the Wagner group. So here, world leaders watch warily as mutiny situation unfolds in Russia. So Ukraine says that the crisis exposed Russia's weakness, calls it a window of opportunity in the battlefield, and US consulting allies and partners regarding the developments. So Russia's politicians, they use the instance to take a stab at Russian leadership. But here, for the time being, Wagner Group has decided to pull back. So US says that there is no proof that COVID was created in Chinese labs. So there is no proof about it as of now. Coming to the science page, so tundra diversity decline seen with sea ice disappearance. So obviously, when we are seeing that glaciers they're retreating, so obviously it would be negatively impacting the biodiversity of the region. So like basically you need to have the idea of the type of biodiversity, the wild fauna and flora which is found in tundra regions. And here we see including plants, lichens, and fungi. They have declined over 15-year experiment in the Arctic due to warming temperatures mediated by the disappearance of sea ice. So we see the presence of large herbivores like caribou and musk oxen. They have also shown decline by affecting the plant understory with their different browsing behaviors. So here this article is talking about the role of the Y chromosome in cancer outcomes. So two studies, they have shed light on the role of the Y chromosome in cancer outcomes in which males are often more adversely affected than females. And results of the studies, they were published in the magazine Nature. So one paper identified an unregulated gene on the Y chromosome that contributes to colorectal cancer in mice by driving tumor invasion and aiding immune escape in the males. And other study demonstrated how the loss of Y chromosome in bladder cancer generates a more immunosuppressive tumor microenvironment, and it contributes to worse outcomes. So these were the results broadly. So mosquito surveillance in non-residential areas is very, very important. So in contrast to the WHO's door-to-door larval surveillance protocol, a study found that urban environments with non-residential locations do harbor the ideal breeding sites for the mosquitoes. So here, breeding site quality determines the abundance and the distribution of mosquito species. So you can just go through this table once. Coming to the FAQ page, so why is US-India fighter jet deal important for India? And obviously it would be important for US also. That's why both the sides have agreed to this deal. So with the General Electric and Hindustan Aeronautics Limited signing a memorandum of understanding to co-produce F414 engines in India, how will it boost the Indian Air Force strength? That is one of the questions. And will the US government and congressional approvals, they come through for the deal or not? So we'll just go to the important questions. Why is it significant? So if the deal goes through, it will mean transfer of almost the entire engine technology compared to the engine development agreement, which was worked out in 2012. So here, that was like the previous agreement included 58% technology transfer. And this heralds a major high technology cooperation between the oldest and largest democracies, which the US has shared with only its closest allies. So while the most critical technologies of the engine will be off limits, Indian industry, both public and private, they will get a chance to upgrade their capacities and skills, as significant sourcing as well as manufacturing will be done in India. So what does the US approval for the lab meat means? So is it viable to sell the cell cultivated chicken or not? Why are stakeholders hailing it as a major step to reduce carbon emissions? So there are some concerns related to human health as well. So what is cell cultivated chicken? So to make the cell cultivated meat, the two companies isolate the cells that make up the meat. So the meat that we consume. So firstly, the cells, they are separated and then put them in a setting where they have all the resources they need to grow and make more copies of themselves. So then the cells, they start to multiply, and then further these resources are typically, it includes nutrients, fats, carbohydrates, amino acids, the right temperature, so that the cells, they start to multiply in the lab. So the setting in which this process it transpires, that is often a bioreactor, which is also known as cultivator, and it is a sensor fit device like a container that has been designed to support a particular biological environment. So once there are enough number of cells, which takes around 2 to 3 weeks time to completely grow. So they resemble a mass of minced meat. So they are collected and then processed with additives to improve the texture. So which forms of cell cultivated meat they right now they exist in the markets? So chicken is the second most widely consumed meat in the world according to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization. However, in the US, it has been the highest consumed meat since 2010. So Good Meat and Upsides, they have focused on chicken and plan to expand their offerings. So that's there. Apart from that, in India, as per a 2021 report, estimated that there were 107 companies in 24 countries working on developing similar alternatives to meat. So 2 companies are from India as well. So why was the cell cultivated meat it was created? Why we felt the need for it is the question. So its proponents, they have advanced the following arguments and among others. So it includes, it would be helping in reduction of the emissions and reduction the land use, prevention of cruelty to the animals, and ensuring food security. So these were the arguments proposed by the proponents. And the first two, they are related to climate mitigation, emissions, and the land use reduction. So even FAO, it has estimated that the global livestock is responsible for 14.5% of all anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions. So of this, the production of beef as a commodity, it accounted for 41%, whereas chicken, meat, and eggs, they accounted for 8%. Now coming to what are the challenges? So there are broadly four kinds of challenges which exist. First is a consumer acceptance. So if that increases, obviously, then only it would be beneficial for the companies to, cultivate this meat in lab. So perfectly substituting the animal meat with the alternative meat requires it to match the original in the taste, texture, and the appearance. So if that is not possible, so it would be very difficult for the consumers to, go for this lab cultivated meat. Second challenge is the cost of the cell cultivated meat. It is expected to remain high in the near future. Apart from that, third challenge is for the cultivation researchers. They require high quality cells, a suitable growth medium in which cells they can be cultured, plus other resources which are required to maintain the quality of the final product. And the last challenge is the uncertainties associated with it. So be it in the terms of the impact on the human health. And a recent study of the University of California found that if the cell cultivation requires a highly refined growth medium like that used in the pharmaceutical industry, the environmental impact of near-term production is likely to be the orders of magnitude higher than median beef production. So that is there. So does China-Pakistan's nuclear deal flout the global rules or not? So again, this is a very important topic. So let's talk about what is the latest deal between Pakistan and China. So here, Pakistan's Prime Minister witnessed the signing of the agreement of the construction of 1200 megawatt nuclear plant. And this is the fifth reactor at the Chashma nuclear complex C5, and the financial details there have been spelled out by Mr. Sharif said China had given special concessions for financing the construction amid Pakistan's continuing financial crisis. So you can imagine that in such a situation also, Pakistan is focusing upon nuclear deal agreements. So C5, it was the biggest reactor at Chashma, and where China has already constructed 4 phases of the complex. So it will use China's Prolong 1 reactor, which has also been installed in 2 plants in Karachi. Coming to the question, how many other nuclear plants has China built for Pakistan? So Pakistan is currently operating 6 China-built nuclear plants, 4 smaller reactors at the Chashma complex and 2 at the Karachi nuclear power plant. So here, the names, they are not so important for us, or how many did China build for Pakistan. Even this question is not so important. For us, what is important is the broader implications of this agreement. So China's civil nuclear projects with Pakistan, they have come under scrutiny because the Nuclear Suppliers Group, which describes itself as a group of nuclear supplier countries that seeks to contribute to the non-proliferation of the nuclear weapons through the implementation of 2 sets of guidelines for the nuclear exports and nuclear-related exports. So explicitly, it prohibits the transfer of nuclear technology by its members to countries that have not signed this nuclear non-proliferation treaty. So this is an important fact. And China joined this 48-member grouping in 2004, and it argued subsequently that the Chashma 3 and Chashma the 4 reactors, they were grandfathered under its earlier Chashma deals with the Pakistan that predated its joining of the NSG. So they don't feel that whatever deals they are doing with Pakistan, that needs to be stopped, or it is violating any kind of treaty. Then Chinese analysts, they have now justified the continuing nuclear commerce despite Beijing's NSG commitments by pointing to the India-US nuclear deal. So one of the arguments is that since India and US, they are also having a nuclear deal, so that's why can't China have it with other countries? So there are, however, significant differences. Obviously, there are differences between these 2 types of deals. For one, India and US, they had to seek a waiver from the NSG for their civil nuclear deal that was signed in 2008. So after that only, we went ahead with this deal, paving the way for India to enter the tent of global nuclear commerce. But now the question comes, does China, it has taken such kind of permission or waiver from NSG or not? So that was, however, only granted after India, it undertook a number of commitments like placing facilities under the International Atomic Energy Agency safeguards, separating the civilian and the military nuclear programs, and continued moratorium on testing. So after these conditions they were fulfilled, only then India was granted with the waiver. So neither has China sought any such waiver from the NSG, nor has Pakistan undertaken similar commitments. So how can you say that this argument that since India and US they have signed a nuclear agreement post 2004 or in 2008, so even China can do whatever it wishes to do. So while China, it had explained its C4 and C5 deals are being part of an earlier agreement, the another one, these plans, they were agreed to in 2013, which is decade into its NSG membership. So how are they basically not violating the treaty? So World Bank, it has approved around $255.5 million loan for improving the quality of technical education in government-run institutions in India. So the next 5 years, multidisciplinary education and research improvement in technical education project. It will support about 275 government-run technical institutions in selected states. So students, they will get access to upgraded curricula according to the World Bank. So Google's picture, he meets the Prime Minister Modi and announces Gujarat FinTech Center. So Prime Minister Modi visited to US. He has sealed some big wins for the home state of Gujarat, including with the Google, which announced the opening of a global fintech operations center in the gift city, Gujarat. So it will cement India's fintech leadership thanks to UPI, and we are going to build on that foundation and take it globally. These are the words of Sundar Pichai. So Gift City, which is in the process of being built, is the business district in Gandhinagar, which is the capital of Gujarat state. And then we are seeing further investments from even Amazon. Coming to Financial Express newspaper, so here fulfilling the people's dreams, be it as an investment hub, agriculture and sugarcane development, women's welfare, boosting entrepreneurship, infrastructure development, social security, zero tolerance against crime and criminals, improved health infrastructure. So these can be different headings even of your answers. So that can be used further. So it is the moment to invest in India. Prime Minister says Google reiterates $10 billion investment. Amazon commits fresh $15 billion of investment. India's tally slip, reason to rethink. So challenges for the ad industry. So India's agencies, they picked up a total of 25 medals at the 70th Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity this week. That's there. Here you can see when India roared. So when games people play, they become their lucrative careers. So gaming industry is an emerging industry, very important. Like esports being monetized by most of the gamers, like game on 83% of the gamers who consider gaming is either primary or secondary source of income. 39% of gamers who consider gaming as a primary source of income. So you can imagine it has become a primary source of income for the people as well. And 77% people, they're pushing the boundaries and achieving maximum gaming hours who fall within the range of 16 to 25 years. So basically the youth. So 10 to 20 hours is the amount of time that gamers they spend per week actively engaging in their craft. So here, and can we have this article about the green diamonds? So this is a diamond that has been gifted by the Indian Prime Minister to the First Lady of US. So it is a 7.5 carat lab grown diamond. And the topic is very important for us now. So the lab grown diamonds, they're eco-friendly and they sparkle as bright as natural one. So what are the benefits? And again, what are the challenges? As we have talked about, even the cultivating of or growing meat in the lab. So here, another thing that can be grown in labs are the diamonds. So what are the techniques that can be used? The science behind them, the basics that needs to be clear. So Himalayan glacier loss is speeding up as per a new report. So glaciers in the region, they melted faster between 2010 and 19 than in the previous decade. And things are just happening so fast. Like the glaciers, they're retreating at an unprecedented level, which was not even forecasted or expected. So new research from the scientists in Nepal, they confirmed that the ice and snow in the world's highest mountains are disappearing as a result of rising temperature and at a faster pace than previously thought. So report from the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development in Kathmandu finds that glaciers in Hindu Kush and Himalayan mountain range region melted 65% faster. So obviously it would lead to the displacement of the people as well from the region and loss to biodiversity as we took up this topic. So Kamala Harris says that India's history teachings have shaped the world. So around our country, we see the impact of Indian Americans from the C-suites of the American companies to neighborhood businesses, from the studio of the Hollywood to university research laboratories. So the role of Indian history in the teachings is very important. So India has inspired the people, whether it is through philosophy and theology, the power of civil disobedience, or the commitment to democracy. So these are some of the important things that India has given to the world. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us in today's analysis session. And I hope you've understood all the key topics and you're making a note of them. So do subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and also hit the like button for this video.